Patreon.com/the Derrick Lamon Experience, one-stop shop for your gaming news. Of course, this goes live on Patreon on Saturday afternoons at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Then goes live on free feeds, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Amazon, all that stuff on Monday mornings at 9 a.m. Of course, this is the week in gaming. Hopefully, everybody had a good week. I'm not gonna lie, mine was super, super busy. There's been some changes at work, and I don't mind taking on more responsibility, but also having to someone who's supposed to be supporting me in one role, and I'm having to support them, and it's just not working out correctly. So trying to find the best work life balance, but also trying to find the best balance at work. I find myself not being able to leave my desk for hours on end, and that's just not a normal day for me. But hopefully that'll change coming up here soon. But anyway, let's talk about some games really quickly. Let's get into quick hits. This comes from VideoGamesChronicle.com, our good friends over there. This is very, very interesting. Iconic game publisher Akklaim has been resurrected. Now, this isn't that surprising. It's who's behind it that's surprising. Apparently, Jeff Jarrett, yes, that's correct. Uh, Double J, WWE Hall of Famer, TNA founder, that guy, WCW former wrestler, that Jeff Jarrett, the guy who somebody said broke a million guitars over people's heads and never drew a penny. I think Hogan said that, so if Hogan did say that, fuck Hulk Hogan. But anyway, Jeff Jarrett is apparently resurrecting Acclaim. This is very, very interesting. Originally founded in 1987, by a trio of former Activision employees, Acclaim became known for a steady stream of games based on popular IP before eventually declaring bankruptcy on September 1st of 2004. More than 20 years later, Acclaim is back, led by CEO Alex Joseph and former founder and CEO Graffiti Games. Turner Boy commits tax evasion, yada yada. In a statement, the publisher says its initial goals are to support indie developers and reignite classic franchises, providing funding, marketing, and PC support to indie studios. Really, really quickly, they published NBA Jam when it came to consoles. I would love to get a modern NBA Jam. It doesn't have to look like 2K. Just simple 2-on-2 basketball the way it used to be. He's on fire. Just it could even be the way, like, you could even set it up the way you used to, but updated visuals, better gameplay, obviously working with analog stick and stuff like that. That would be really cool. Acclaim also published Mortal Kombat, if I'm not mistaken, or I think they did publish Mortal Kombat for Midway. I don't know. Acclaim was perhaps best known for its licensed games, and one of the key aims of the new company is to, quote, resurrect and revitalize its beloved portfolio of classic IP enjoyed for years by millions of players. To accomplish this, an advisory board of esteemed industry leaders has been set up to shape the publisher's future, with board members including Russell Binder, who is a founding partner of licensing and merchandising company Strike Entertainment, Mark Kaplan, founder of business consultancy firm Ridge Partners, and wrestler and entrepreneur Jeff Jarrett. Yes, there's that name again. Jarrett, who previously starred in Acclaim's WWF Attitude Game, said, quote, "For more than 3 decades, I've had the privilege to be a part of both the wrestling and gaming universes." Really? I did not. Okay, so I'm going to have to do my homework on Jeff Jarrett, because I didn't know that he was into gaming like that. But anyway, I'm thrilled to now be a part in the revival of Acclaim, an iconic publisher known for releasing some of the most legendary games of the 80s and 90s. He does have that right. I don't know if Jeff wrote this or somebody wrote this on his behalf. He does have that right. When you saw Acclaim, usually you were going to get a good game. From my early involvement with the publisher's hit 16-bit WWF titles to my experience helping shape the TNA wrestling series, which spawned the first video game wrestler to become a full-time roster member in the Squared Circle, I've seen firsthand the type of impact great games can have on players and fans. Resurrecting Acclaim is an opportunity to impart the same degree of passion and love to a new generation. I'm excited to be involved. Acclaim published around 300 games over the course of its original run, many of which were based on popular movies and TV shows. Notable hits included its WWF games: The Simpsons, Bart vs. the Space Mutants, Terminator 2, Alien 3, Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, South Park, and the home versions of such midway series as Mortal Kombat and NBA Jam. I knew they did Mortal Kombat as well. So, when I saw this and I saw the logo, it took me back to being like, fucking 12 years old, which is, nostalgia is very important for me because I'm in my 40s now, and last year I turned 42, so 30 years, go figure. But I think this is dope. I think this is really dope. I did not know Jeff Jarrett was the man like that. Jeff is a good guy. He's a good guy, and from people I know that know him very well, say he's an amazing guy. He got a bad rap um, in the business and stuff like that, but he was an absolutely awesome guy. So shout out to Jared and shout out to Akklaim for coming back. This is really really cool. In other news, again, this is our last story of quick hits. Japan's new PS5 rental is massively popular with service fully booked across all regions. Japan's new PS5 rental service is impossible to book right now, no doubt thanks to the popularity of Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm not a Monster Hunter fan, so do with that what you will. Cleverly riding the wave of Monster Hunter Wilds release GEO, one of Japan's biggest video game retailers, launched a brand new PS5 rental service on February 28th. As of March the 6th, the service is fully booked across all regions of Japan, making it impossible to reserve at the time of writing. I saw somebody retweet on Twitter, and they were like, so it's not okay to rent games or get games through a subscription service, but renting PlayStation 5s is perfectly fine. I'm not going to call the guy an Xbox. I own a couple of Xboxes. I also own multiple PlayStation 5s. I'm an all-inclusive gamer. What I will say about this is different. This is not the same. I would akin this to in the 90s. I remember you could go to Blockbuster and you could rent a Sega Genesis. Nintendo was like, you're not renting shit of ours. You're going to buy the SNES and the NES, but you're not going to rent anything. But you could rent a Sega Genesis back in the day. It's unknown. It's sorry, not known how many PS5s Geo has available for rental in the first place, but given that the service is being provided by 400 of its stores nationwide, it would be reasonable to assume that they are renting out a solid number of PS5s. Both the 8-day and 15-day rental plans are booked until mid-April, with appointments beyond that date not yet available. Contributed to the popularity of services, its surprisingly affordable pricing, with the 8-day plan being around $656 US dollars and the 15-day plan priced around $11.92 US dollars. In addition, Monster Hunter Wilds has no doubt been a big incentive for people who don't own a PS5 to try renting one. As an aside, Japanese people on X who rented a PS5 from Geo have reported having such a great time with the console. So, it's interesting. Blockbuster's not a thing anymore, but yeah, you used to be able to rent a Sega Genesis from Blockbuster in the 90s. And I never understood why you couldn't rent a Nintendo one until I got older and read books about Nintendo. I was like, oh, they just don't fuck around. Nintendo is very, very protective of their IP. They'd much rather sell you a console than allow you to rent one, and that's why you could not rent a Super Nintendo back in the 90s. But if you can't pay, if you don't have the money to afford one, renting one, it's not like we used to rent video games. Like getting out of school on a Friday and getting home and finding a free rental coupon in your mail, like you rent one game and you get another one for free. Me and my friend Steve, shout out to Steve, Esteban Blanco. One of us, whichever one of us got home first, if there was one in the mail, we call the other person like, yo, free rental. And then we'd be like, all right, bet. And then we meet up and go up to Blockbuster and rent games. And like call the next day, like, yo, what are you playing? How was it? Whatever, whatever. So it's cool. It hasn't come stateside. I know that we had GameFly and stuff like that, and I rented from GameFly once or twice. I remember like early in the around the launch of the PlayStation 4. And I think I tried to rent Mario Kart 8 for the Wii U because I couldn't find a copy in stores, and you could not find a copy on GameFly either. Like it was booked out for weeks. So I get it. It's a phenomenon. Well, no, I take that back. That's a worse word to use. It's not a phenomenon, but you kind of want to be a part of the party, and you may not be able to afford it. So if somebody's gonna allow you to rent it, why the fuck not? Now, this is different from going to Rent a Center and everybody's like, just go to Rent a Center and get one. I'm gonna tell you right now, if that's what you want to do, by all means. But I would tell you this: you're going to pay. It's a rent to own system. The interest is going to be. By the time you get done paying that interest, you could have bought multiple PlayStation 5s, at least two. I think it's like the PlayStation 5 retails at $400 for the digital only version. It's $500 for the version with the disc. The PlayStation 5 Pro does not have a disc drive, and I still need to get one for mine. I don't know if they have any PS5 Pros at Rent a Center, but I will tell you this again. By the time you get done paying the rental fee and you actually own the thing, you will have paid basically double the price of buying it at retail. So you might as well just save up your change and get it that way. But this is a lot different from that. That's a rent to own system. This is you rent it for 8 days or 15 days and enjoy it, while you have it. If you're gonna do that, I would suggest, if you have a PlayStation Plus account, or if you don't have one, I would suggest getting a PlayStation Plus account for the cloud saves. That way, when you actually do rent another unit or finally buy your own unit via retail, you can just sign in a PlayStation Plus, and your cloud saves are available that way. So I would suggest that. Anyway, moving right along to the top of the show, ladies and gentlemen, here comes our top story. This actually wasn't initially the top story, but I saw this today and I was like, this is absolutely insane. This also coming from our good friends over at VideoGamesChronicle.com. The latest Xbox system update for the Xbox insiders is removing their user profiles. When I first read this, I didn't read all into it. I was just like, there's a bug and it's removing profiles. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So I'm frantic, like, holy shit, I hope it doesn't delete my profile from any of my Xboxes when I get home. And I was like, oh, this is for the insider program, so this doesn't affect me. Players signed up to Xbox Insider Program are reporting issues with the latest system update. Participants signed up to the Alpha and Alpha Skip Ahead tiers of the Xbox Insider Program, which lets them download system updates before anyone else to help with testing and troubleshooting or having their profiles removed. It's interesting because I just signed up for the PlayStation Beta program last night, so it's very interesting that this is kind of happening. It's kind of making me wonder. I remember signing up for an iOS beta, and my iPhone ran really shitty after that, and I was like, never again will I do that, and I haven't. So I'm kind of thinking like, maybe I don't actually download any updates, any software UI for the system, like game demos and stuff like that is fine, but I don't know. Uh, VGC is signed up to the alpha tier and confirmed that the same thing happened on our Xbox Series X console. So this is VGC reporting this. While the latest firmware version was added as an optional download on Wednesday, this became a mandatory download at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. GMT time today. After the update was downloaded and installed, rather than simply updating the system software, and rebooting to the Xbox dashboard as usual, our console instead loaded the initial setup procedure that runs when the console is used for the first time. And that's when they ask you to download the Xbox app if you don't already have it. And it used to be funny because we would just, when you got a new console, you would sign into the internet and that would be it. And then both Microsoft and Sony with this generation was like, hey, you're going to link this thing to your internet via the app. You're going to use our app. You're not just going to sign into your Wi-Fi network, which you can, but you have to skip the app setup. But they want you to use the app for whatever reason. Um, we had our Xbox profile and sign. We had to add our Xbox profile and sign into it again, and follow the various other displays and account setup steps before we were able to return to the dashboard. At this point, while our previously installed games were still present on the console and hadn't been deleted, all our other settings such as wallpaper, system settings, recently played games, and quick resume data had been removed. Other Xbox Insider members have been sharing similar issues on X and Reddit. Xbox support, are you quote, Xbox support, are you joking me? Read one user's tweet. I got a 5 gig Xbox update which put my console back to factory settings. Now I've lost all my Xbox profiles. You're joking. Another one says, quote, came home to my Xbox today after work and found my console at factory reset itself after it automatically downloaded update. I'm not reading out that whole goddamn number. Wrote another user on Reddit, biggest bug I've ever seen released in all my years of being in the preview program. Another person said, I just had the same issue on my second boot after applying the update. Added another, all my games and apps were safe. The My Games and Apps section just had to repopulate the library, which only took a minute. It does mean losing some settings though, which was slightly annoying. Somebody else tweeted, and they have a picture of the South Park classroom. You can see Kyle and Kenny, and I don't, is that BB? I don't know. Uh, at Xbox support, the new update is screwed, won't install properly, and every time it tries, it wipes the profiles off the Xbox. So now, until that is sorted, I can't get onto my Xbox. Um, what else? The update also seemingly logs users out of all their media apps on the console, meaning they'll have to log in again before being able to use them. This is why I keep a notepad in my iPhone that has passwords and stuff like that for situations like this, because you never know when shit's going to happen. According to the Xbox patch notes, the latest update is supposed to do the following. Quote, fixed an issue where viewing your own profile would appear as if viewing another user's profile unintentionally, offering none of the expected customization options. There's also TV and display options. Fixed an issue where the console would not correctly detect support for Dolby Vision and Dolby Vision for gaming when connected to certain TV models, and playing Dolby Vision content would instead fall back to HDR10. System various updates to properly reflect local languages across the console. So, it doesn't sound like it's that bad. Like, it is annoying. I get that when you log on and your profiles are gone, especially if there's more than one person signed into that Xbox. I can see how annoying that would be, but it's not that terrible. Um, I think some people are just like, this is the end of the world, and it's not really the end of the world. Now, it is a pain in the ass if you've got your profile set up exactly the way you want and you have to go back and do that stuff. I know that would be annoying. That would be a pain in the ass, but it's not the end of the world. If it removed all your saves and all your games and you had to re-download everything and let's say you don't have particularly good internet, that would be a reason to be pissed the fuck off. I'm not gonna lie. But this is kind of minimal. This is kind of minimal. I don't think that anybody should be wigging the fuck out like that. But, you know, we all get disappointed in different ways, so it's not my fucking place to say anything. I don't know. Moving right along, if you're a fan of this particular franchise, you may have reason to be upset. This comes from IGN.com. If you're a The Last of Us fan, anxiously hoping for word that Naughty Dog is working on a part three game, I've got some bad news for you. Series creator Neil Druckmann has put a real damper today on any hopes that part three is in the works or ever will be. I'm going to pause right here. Now, it is particularly Naughty Dog's business whether they want to make a third game or not. But I will also say this: Sony owns Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog is a PlayStation studio. If Sony says, well, guess what? You're gonna make a third one because it's making us a boatload of cash, there will be a Last of Us Part 3. Particularly, here's the thing. Season 2 of The Last of Us TV show starts airing next month on Max, right? Or HBO. Wherever you want to, watch it. The situation is this. They're using the second game, but they're spreading it out over 2 seasons. So seasons 2 and 3 will be part 2 of the game. I'm guessing they're going to have season 2 go all the way up until the theater from Ellie's perspective, and then season 3 would go all the way up to the theater from Abby's perspective, and then maybe everything after that, or they could do season 4 and it would be everything after that until the epic showdown between Ellie and Abby in Santa Barbara. Or I could be wrong. However, I'm going to tell you this. The Last of Us is a cash cow for Sony, and I don't think, like, Neil may think he's done with it, but that doesn't mean that PlayStation's done with it, or PlayStation Productions. And certainly when you're struggling to get first party content out that isn't a games of service that's eventually going to get canceled or doesn't fare well, it's like that SpongeBob meme where it's like the box is open and he's holding something. It's like Old Faithful. It's like that. The Last of Us is Old Faithful for them. They've already moved on from Uncharted. This intergalactic heretic prophecy game, we don't know what that is. We just know that there's space travel and there's some cool 80s anime inspired shit in there. We don't know what that game is. We don't know how that game's going to score. We don't know when that game is coming out, right? At some point, they're going to have to have a conversation about The Last of Us Part 3. Where I blame Neil on this is him in The Last of Us Part 2 documentary saying he's basically got an outline for the third game. You shouldn't have said that. If you didn't think that you were ever going to return to this universe, you should have let it go. You just should have let it go. And we would have all accepted, like, that shot of Ellie, crying in the water, and then her going back to the house, and Dina and the baby being gone. That was it, right? I don't know what story to tell after this. A lot of people like it should be a prequel of Joel and Tommy in the early days of the breakout, and this, that, and the third. And I don't know. It's not my story to tell, but I would bet dollars to donuts the story's going to get told. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, speaking of variety, Druckmann gave a lengthy interview today, largely centered around The Last of Us television series. However, then the outlet asked him about the prospect of The Last of Us Part 3. Druckmann responded with quite the shutdown. Quote, I was waiting for this question, he said, sighing. I guess the only thing I would say is don't bet on there being more of The Last of Us. This could be it. Uncharted got 4 mainline games, really 5 if you count Uncharted Golden Abyss on the PS Vita. And then it depends on how you feel about Uncharted Lost Legacy. Like, I love Lost Legacy, but do you count it as a mainline entry because there's no Nathan Drake? That's up to you. It depends on how you look at things. I find it hard to believe that they're just gonna walk away from The Last of Us after 2 games when you put out that many Uncharted games. Jack and Daxter, I think there's like 3 Jak and Daxter games. How many Crash Bandicoot games were there? Like, it's just, this is a very un-Naughty Dog thing to do. I'm reading Jason Schreier, Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, and it talks about how Amy Hennig left and how Neil and Bruce Straley had to like come together. And then when I remember when The Last of Us aired, Colin Moriarty talked about this. Bruce Straley was really upset that when the credits aired, when the TV show aired, he wasn't listed, and he's like, I fucking created that game. Like, Neil did not do this on his own. So it just, I'm never going to join the mob who hates Neil Druckmann. I'm not going to do that, right? He would have to really go crazy. Like, I don't know enough about the situation going on um elsewhere, and it was like, you don't watch the news, and it's like, there's only so much I know. Like, everybody, one person will say this and somebody else like, no, 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 they're wrong. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on enough to say they're wrong and the Palestine's wrong or this person's wrong. It's just not my fucking place. A lot of people felt like Neil was a dick because of comments that he made about that. I don't know. But then there's other people who are like, Neil made The Last of Us Part 2 woke, which is not, that's just bullshit. Just because there was one trans character, we need to stop that bullshit. But I know a lot of people are getting tired of Neil Druckmann. I'm not saying I'm getting tired of him. I'm not going to sit here and say he's fucked up Naughty Dog, but I can't see them really being done with The Last of Us right now. I think the game will get a third installment, and I think that'll be it. I imagine it being a trilogy. I just don't see them just walking away at this point. I just don't. Not when they've invested this money in the television show and all that. So I don't know. Of course, the question remains as to if you believe Druckmann or not. Naughty Dog is currently hard at work on Intergalactic, which was announced at the Game Awards last December. It's likely several years away from completion given its lack of any kind of release window. With the studio's interest firmly in space right now, there's no way the team has time for The Last of Us Part 3 anytime soon. It's entirely possible Druckmann is being coy here, or simply that he isn't willing to commit yet. The passage of time could change his response, or he could just be done with it, who can say. If Neil doesn't want to do it, pass it on to somebody else at the studio. Like, I'll tell you one thing. There are certain games that do need, like, I went back and watched the history of Uncharted on YouTube, and I was like, no, the first 3 look good. And then I watched, and I was like, oh, God, this is what Uncharted 1 looks like. It's like you have these tinted lenses, and I'm like, it holds up because there's the Blue Point Nathan Drake collection, but it doesn't, like, comparing it to the PlayStation 5 version of The Last of Us and Last of Us Part 2 and Uncharted 4 and Uncharted Lost Legacy, yeah, it looks very, very bad. So this rumored reboot, or I'm sorry, rumored remake of Uncharted, I'm all for that. I don't care. Everybody's like, I'm tired of remakes. I don't care. I'm all for it. If there's another studio working on it, that's perfectly fine as well. I don't know. But this is very, very interesting. I don't know. Anyway, The Last of Us television series second season starts airing on April 13th on Max. Druckmann says in the interview he isn't sure how many seasons it will take to wrap up the story of Part 2. An HBO executive hinted in February that it's going to look like 4 total seasons will be the sweet spot. So maybe, just maybe, again, like I said, they'll do it. They'll do all the Ellie stuff. They'll do everything from Ellie's point of view, season 2. Everything from Abby's point of view, season 3. And then all the Santa Barbara stuff for season 4. Ellie's trek to Santa Barbara, like how Liv and Abby end up on those posts out there on the beach and stuff like that. That would all be very, very interesting. That's the best way to chop it up if you're going to do this. But again, I don't see Sony walking away from a cash cow like The Last of Us. I really don't. In other news, speaking of one of our other so-called goated developers, Rockstar Games is to acquire Video Games Deluxe. This is March 3rd, 2025. For immediate release, Rockstar Games is proud to announce the acquisition of Video Games Deluxe, the Sydney-based development studio. The studio will be renamed to Rockstar Australia. Video Games Deluxe has worked with Rockstar Games on some of its most memorable titles, including the 2017 re-release of LA Noire, LA Noire, the VR case files, and most recently on upgrades to Grand Theft Auto, the Trilogy Definitive Edition for iOS and Android, Netflix, and modern consoles. I still don't know how that Netflix gaming shit works, but whatever. Um, this is a quote after working together closely over many years, we are excited to have Video Games Deluxe join the team as Rockstar Australia, said Rockstar Games head of publishing Jennifer Colby. Rockstar Games' relationship with the Video Games Deluxe team began with the founder Brendan McNamara's former studio Team Bondi and the creation of the critically acclaimed and groundbreaking detective thriller LA Noire. Quote, it's been an honor to work closely with Rockstar Games this past decade, said Video Games Deluxe founder Brendan McNamara. We are thrilled to be a part of Rockstar Games and continue our efforts and make the best games possible. Um, hmm. Well, they did the iOS version of the Grand Theft Auto Definitive Trilogy. I was like, that's not the studio that worked on that game because that studio sucked, and they were a mobile studio, and that was a mistake. Um, that game also bricked my PlayStation 5. I'm not gonna lie. And remember, the game came out literally the day it was a day after the PlayStation 5's 1 year anniversary. Your warranty that comes with your console ended on the anniversary of the release of the PlayStation 5. So I think the game came out, if I'm not mistaken, November 13th. It bricked my PS5 and it was out of warranty, but Sony was like, a lot of people are experiencing this issue. It's not just you. Generally, it would cost $200 to fix your PlayStation 5. Sony, they sent me box in the mail, a packing slip. I sent it. I took it up to like FedEx or something, I think, that day, and I got it back like 3 days later, perfectly fine, brand new. I had to reinstall all my games and stuff, but again, and that's why I'm saying these people tripping about the Xbox update. Calm down, it could be worse. Where are we? Oh, this is very interesting. This comes from our good friends over at InsiderGaming.com. Call of Duty 2026 is being developed for the next generation Xbox. It has been claimed. Seems like the board of directors and everybody up at Microsoft still want to move forward with this. I don't have a problem with them making another Xbox. I don't think they should be doing anything where there's two SKUs. If you couldn't sell hardware this generation or last generation, I don't think there's going to be an uptick in hardware next generation. It's like, oh, when they get the handheld, that's going to change everything. Is that really going to change things for you guys? Because Xbox Anywhere was already a thing. Play Anywhere was a thing. This is an Xbox. That is an Xbox. That's a thing. Like, do you really need a handheld? And I'm sure there's somebody in that boardroom like, hey, do we really need this considering we're putting our games on the most platforms available? So I don't know. Anyway, it's been claimed that the Call of Duty 2026, which is soon to be another Modern Warfare title, is in development for the next generation of Xbox. It's according to the reputable Call of Duty leaker, the Ghost of Hope, who took to X, formerly Twitter. It's still Twitter. Fuck that X shit. To break the news after it was announced that Season 3 of Black Ops 6 would be delayed until April. According to Hope, the 2026 title is not being development for past generation consoles, unlike Call of Duty 2025. It is being developed for the next generation of Xbox, which means that we should get a release of the next generation of Xbox next year. Actually, it would be the following year, because it's 2025 and Call of Duty comes out in the fall. So once we hit New Year's of this year going into next year, we would expect, based on this, a new Xbox to come out that fall, guessing November, before Black Friday, and then we would have the Call of Duty launch around the same time. Now, the question is, will it be cross-gen, meaning whatever the new Xbox is going to be, and then this generation of Xbox, the Series X and S? But again, I don't know why you would do multiple SKUs. We'll see. Again, if this is true, it could be our first real hint at the next generation Xbox could release around fall of 2026. Also pointed out by Hope is that apparently if Verdansk does not bring players back to Call of Duty, Warzone, a third game in the free-to-play Battle Royale, will not release. Ooh. The Battle Royale thing is starting to wear thin. I'm just telling you guys that right now. Officially, Activision nor Microsoft have released any information on Call of Duty 2026 or even Call of Duty 2025 at this moment. According to our sources, the next game in the Call of Duty franchise is a Black Ops 2 sequel, headed once again by Treyarch Games following rough internal decisions that saw Sledgehammer Games wanting to develop their own fully fledged Call of Duty title for 2027. As always, take such rumors with a grain of salt, but Call of Duty 2026 being in development for the next generation of Xbox console is an interesting tidbit of information if it's true. This should have been in grain of salt, which is at the top of the show, but I didn't get a chance to go deep into the article, so I'm sorry I did not know that. Um, Next Xbox 2026, possibly. 6 years is about the length of a console generation. Um, they went to, I think, the when we were dealing with the end of the Bush administration going into the Obama administration, and we were in that recession. That's why that console generation ran really long. If you remember, the Xbox 360 came out November of 2005, and then the Wii and the PlayStation 3 came out November of 2006. We got the next Nintendo November of 2012. So that would have been 6 years. The Wii U came out in 2012. And then we got the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One November of 2013. So seven years for the PlayStation, 8 years for the Xbox 360. Good God. Wow, I didn't realize it was that long for the 360. So yeah, 6 years generally is what you would have between releases of consoles. I think the NES got to the US in 85 and the Super NES came out in 91. Um, the 60 N64 came out 95, 96 ish, somewhere around there. But anyway, generally it's about that much time. PlayStation 2 came out in Japan in 94 and it released in the US in 95. No, the original PlayStation came out in the spring of 94. I think they released in the spring and then we get them in the fall. But yeah, it's about 5, 6 years or so. So 2026, it really seems like, because the pandemic fucked all of us up, it really seems like 2020 wasn't that long ago, but it's literally 2025. And when you sit back and think about it, it's like it was 2019. We went to bed, we woke up, the pandemic was taking shit over. We were in the house for months. We blinked, and then the year started going really, really fucking fast after that. And that kind of puts us in the position that we're in now. So 6 years is not, it's like, oh, it's too short. No, that's really about what a console generation should be. So do I expect to see a new Xbox next year? Yeah, considering the fact that they didn't do like an iterative version this generation, yeah, I definitely expect to see one next year. So we shall see. um in other news, really quickly, I want to, this is unfortunate, but this also coming from Insider Gaming. Until Dawn remake developer Ballistic Moon is effectively been closed. Insider Gaming has learned that after layoffs that were publicly announced in September of 24, roughly 40 employees or so were let go. The remaining staff was kept to offer post-launch support and development on Until Dawn after its October release. In December of 2024, however, the company quietly laid off that staff as well, resulting in around 20 or more developers losing their job. Sources say that only the studio's founders remain and possibly a handful of employees at most. There are no employees in public relations, marketing, or development left, which means there's no project coming from that studio. So my question is, how many people are really there to support the game? How many bugs does this game really have? I know a lot of people said this Until Dawn remake did not look good and that disappointed me. And also, might I add, I'm guessing because they're not a first party Sony studio, but this is a PlayStation IP. Death Stranding, um, Uncharted Lost Legacy. I'm sorry, Uncharted Lost Legacy and Uncharted 4, which became Legacy of Thieves Collection. Ghost of Tsushima, Days Gone, even Grand Theft Auto 5. Grand Theft Auto 5 was 15. Every other game was $10. Why why? If you already owned Until Dawn on the PlayStation 4, why was there not the $10 upgrade for this PlayStation 5 remake? I think that's really fucked up, considering this is a Sony IP. I just don't understand that. But it is what it is. Sources say that only the studio's founders remain and possibly a handful of employees. There's no one there are no employees in public relations, marketing, or development left. Quote, people are sharing bugs they found in the game to make the team aware, but there's no one working on patch support for the game anymore, one source said. The studio is effectively closed down. So if nobody's working on patch support, why is anybody even still there? Why are the founders still there? Like, it's over. It's over. As far as what happened, those who spoke on the condition of anonymity made it clear that the owners attempted to keep things at Ballistic Moon moving forward. Many said that the owners were actively looking for funding and pitching projects but couldn't secure funding or a new publisher. When asked about Sony publishing another game or future updates to Until Dawn remake for the studio, one source said it was discussed but never came to fruition. Sony said after the game they might greenlight more funding for the updates, but looked like they didn't, the source said. Regarding working at the studio, most who spoke said that it was generally a good place to work. Many spoke highly of their teams and the work being done. What they didn't like, though, were instances of unpaid overtime. Nobody likes that. One former employee equated it to weeks of unpaid work and that the internal announcement of redundancies came after the team had worked overtime. Nice reward for our hard work, they say. This is how these class action lawsuits start. Again, reading, so I just finished Jason Schreier's Press Reset book, and that's about studios closing down and like how it happens. And I forget which studio it was. Like they just closed it. They were like, we did. They went in one day and did you get paid? No, I didn't get paid. Did you get paid? No, I didn't get paid. And then the studio was closed, and like those people just didn't get paid. That's how a fucking class action lawsuit starts. We did these. We did the work. We put in hours. We were. It was crunch because we're trying to get this game out. We weren't compensated, and then you fire us. No, fuck that. I would definitely contact somebody. I had a job like that. We got paid. We got our severance. But somebody still contacted a lawyer and filed a class action lawsuit. And I think we all got like $600 or $700 if I'm not mistaken. It wasn't a bad little payday. Ballistic Moon's leadership has yet to put out an official statement on the status of the studio and whether or not it has been or will be closed. In technical terms, it remains active in name. Should a publisher sign on or funding come from elsewhere, the studio could start the hiring process again to bring in developers and other staff. Right now, however, there is no work being done. Insider Gaming has attempted multiple times to get in contact with Ballistic Moon's co-founders and owners, as well as Sony, regarding the claims of additional funding for the studio. But no responses have been received. Should any come after the publishing of the story, it will be added in an update, and I'm here to tell you that there has been no update. Silence speaks volumes. This tells me Ballistic Moon really is done. But again, I didn't play Until Dawn remake. It was on my list of things to play, but I just found it absolutely insane that every other PlayStation 4 game that got a PlayStation 5 version, there was a $10 upgrade fee, with the exception of Grand Theft Auto 5 that was $15. And they're like, no, you're going to pay full price for this game. It's like, what? And no, I take that back. Well, yes, I do take that back. The Last of Us PlayStation 5 remake was full price. There was no upgrade path for that. So not every game. Generally speaking, though, if we ran down the list, it's got to be like 80%. 80% of the games. So, I still think this is very. Is the game that bad? I don't know. I believe it was still full price the last time I checked, because I think I went and checked immediately. I was like, I wonder if they're going to discount the game now, and I don't think it's been discounted, so we'll see. I'll let you guys know. Lastly, this comes from XboxEra.com, and other places are reporting it as well, so I know you'll be like, it's Xbox Era, don't believe them, but other sites are reporting this. Gears E-Day is coming in 2026, and a Gears collection is announced in June for Xbox Series X and PS5. EXTAS1S has put out a new video with claims that Gears E-Day is aiming for a 2026 release, and that the long-rumored Gears collection will be announced as a full multi-platform release this June. I would imagine that would come this fall or something. I don't know. The source told EXTAS1S that Gears of War E-Day is scheduled for 2026, with a very slim possibility of being moved forward to 2025. I don't see it happening. I think it is still 2026. The source also told him the long-desired Gears of War collection is currently scheduled for 2025, with the reveal set for the Xbox Showcase this year. The game is also coming to PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PC on day one. There's no information on a Nintendo Switch 2 port, so it's likely not in the works now. A brand new game in the Gears of War series has been announced. And surprise, it's not Gears 6. Gears of War E-Day brings the series back to the beginning. In the very beginning, in fact, we will reunite with favorite characters Marcus Phoenix and Dominic Santiago in a game set more than a decade before Gears 1. E-Day, obviously, this Emergence Day. Coalition's creative director Matt Cersei explains why the studio chose to go back in time. Da 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 da. This has all been handled, so I don't know why they're bringing this up. I have been told on good faith that there is no multiplayer for this Gears collection, but there will be co-op for the game. So you can still play as Marcus and somebody can be Dom and you guys can trek through. This is just Gears, Gears of War 2 and Gears 3. Gears Judgment is not a part of this collection. I didn't mind Gears Judgment, but I wasn't an original day one Gears head. The only one I got on day one was Gears 4. Because I think I bought the Xbox One version of Gears of War, that like Ultimate Edition, I think is what it was called. And because I purchased that, they then gave me Gears 1, 2, and 3 for the 360 and Judgment, because that's when the whole backwards compatibility stuff started. And I played through all three, and everybody would text me like, "You're playing Gears Judgment?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "You like that?" I was like, "I don't have any reference point. Like, they're all just fucking Gears of War games to me." They're like, "There's no Marcus, there's no Dom." They're like, "Stop playing that shit." I was like, "Fuck you, I got it for free. I'm gonna play this fucking game." Like, I don't care. But a lot of people hate Gears Judgment. It didn't bother me. It's like, I like the fact that they were like recounting what happened in front of a court and stuff like that. I like shit like that, so it didn't bother me. But a lot of people were like, "That fucking game sucks." So worry not, Gears Judgment is not a part of this collection. But again, there will be no multiplayer, and there will be co-op for the game though. So at least you can do that. You know, saddle up with a friend and take down the Horde and Locust and all that good shit. I don't know what kind of like enhancements the game is gonna have. I guess we're gonna have to wait till the Xbox showcase during game season in June to figure that out. I would hope that there's because if it's just gonna be the 360 versions of the game, it's like not even worth it. Like, because I already have those. And to be completely honest with you, I'm not gonna get it on Xbox unless it goes to Game Pass. Why the fuck not? I am gonna get it for PlayStation though. Like, why not? I enjoy the series. There was a running build of Gears of War for the PlayStation 3. It had PlayStation button icons and everything. People forget that that was made by, I think it was made by Unreal before Xbox acquired them or acquired the IP. Bungie made Halo, and Xbox acquired the IP, and then Bungie went on to do their own thing. Microsoft is known to acquire IPs. They're not gonna take the whole studio. Now they'll buy your whole fucking studio, but they would acquire the IP. So there was a version of Gears of War running on PlayStation 3 hardware, but it never came out. Microsoft bought the IP, and that was the end of that. And now it's funny because here we are, all this time later, and it's like, oh fuck, we're in a position. We got to figure this out, and that's why it's pretty much a multi-platform situation over at Microsoft. But anyway, that's all the time I have for you all. Tell your friends and family, subscribe. Of course, patreon.com/the Derrick Lamon Experience. I've got a lot of great content coming up, some great stuff recorded and already scheduled. It's going to be very, very interesting. And I get to take a little bit of a break coming up, but fret not, because of course I will be here to cover the Xbox Showcase, Summer Games Fest. More than likely Sony's going to do something. If it's a state of play or a full PlayStation Showcase, I don't know. Nintendo's going to have a Direct. I will be covering the April 2nd Nintendo Switch 2 Direct as well, so stay tuned for all of that. I'm going to end this like I end every other show. Believe in yourself first and foremost, because if you don't believe in yourself, of course, nobody else will believe in you. As always, my name is Derrick Lamon Jackson, and ladies and gentlemen, that is my time. Y'all have a good one. Peace out.